Home Learning Art with Mrs. Smith. Hello and welcome back to Mrs. Smith's art class. As you can see, I have a little helper with me today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Obviously, my name is Eva and I'm going to help my mum do this Mother's Day art because Mother's Day is coming up really soon.
It is awesome. Yep, we are going to do some Mother's Day artwork and this is what it's going to look like. We are going to paint these beautiful flowers in a vase on the front, and then on the back we're going to create a little letter for your mum with the similar flowers in the corners and then leaving the space for some writing.
Yay.
Okay, but first let me introduce you to a very talented artist by the name of Rachel Zuch. Rachel loves painting flowers using watercolours. Let's take a closer look at her.
Yay!
Rachel is an artist based in Hamilton, Victoria. We are very lucky to see Rachel in action here as she paints her beautiful flowers. You can see to the left of her painting, she has a photo there of some flowers. That's what she's using for her inspiration. She says there are a few big things to remember when painting with watercolours. The first is to use all of the brush. You should try to use a variety of quick and slow brush strokes. Experiment with the different marks the brush makes. The second thing is to use the white on the page as the white in your painting, so you don't have to use white paint later on. You should work from light colours to dark and let the paint dry before adding the finer details. And another hot tip, do things in threes. 3 flowers, 3 leaves, 3 flower buds, and so forth. Rachel's artworks often end up on clothes. How cool is that? She sells her art to companies that make a fabric print out of her design. Her artworks also end up on things like wrapping paper, gift cards, and all sorts of things. Let's take a look at those. The supplies that you're going to need for today's artwork are a lead pencil. You will need watercolour paints. You're going to need, obviously, water and paintbrushes. Now I'm using 2 different sized brushes. If you don't have 2 different sizes, it does not matter. Just use the size that you have. And the paper that we're using today is slightly thicker than normal paper. If you have paper at home that is, just a little bit thicker, I suggest you use it. Otherwise, just use normal paper. It won't matter too much. Okay, now you can see 2 bits of paper here. This side will be mine and this side is Eva's. So Eva's going to be demonstrating how to do the art as well. Okay, so we're going to start with our pencil. Now the rule with this is we have to press very lightly. The reason for that is if you make a mistake, you can rub it out easier. Yeah. And also when the watercolour goes on, we're not going to have big, thick pencil lines showing. Okay, so the first step is to find roughly the centre of your page and put a little dot. Okay. Then we're going to draw a nice light line all the way to the bottom. Good. Now let's do the same over this side. Just come in a little bit from the side there, put a dot, and draw your line down softly. Okay. Now what we're going to do next is draw some lines going horizontally. Nice and lightly, and the same width apart all the way up. I'm not using a ruler. I don't want to have the lines too straight. I'm going to keep that sort of arty look about it. Excellent. Okay, so that's our vase. The next step are the flowers. Okay, these are just guidelines for our flowers. We're going to start with a little circle above the dot. Great. And then let's draw a bigger circle. Nice and lightly. Okay. And the same over this side. Let's draw a little circle. And now the big circle here is going to go off the page and it might overlap our other flowers, and that is okay. We could even go over the vase a little bit. Okay. Now Rachel says that we should do things in threes. So on my original artwork, I only had 2 big flowers. We're going to change it a little bit. We're going to put a 3rd big flower above. So let's draw your little circle. Yeah, oh, just here, I think. We need to press nice and lightly, and then the big circle. Okay, very, very good. Now the next step is we're going to add this detail next. These are buds of flowers that haven't yet bloomed. So I'm going to bring it out over this side. So we start off a little bit wide and come in so it touches. Good. And we'll draw a bud at the end with the stem. Good. And let's draw some. Now when you're drawing these, it goes out, out, and join. Out. Excellent. And another one over here. And let's just draw one more over this side. Now our next step is some leaves. So we might start over here, just bringing some leaves out from the side of the flower. And some more. Yep, take your time. Oops. Bring them all down. And I'm going to add one over the top of the vase as well. Let's draw some over this side. Okay, maybe a stem here, bring out a bud, stem over here, and bring out a bud. Now, if we're going too fast for you, you can always pause your video and catch up. All right, I think this is looking really good. We might leave it like that, and we're ready to start painting. So go get your tools. We need watercolour paints, water, and your brushes. See you soon. Okay, the first colour we're going to use is yellow. I've woken my paint up by adding a little bit of water, and now I'm painting every second line on the vase yellow. My strokes are all going in the same direction, and make sure there's no white bits left in those lines. Now, I want to create a shadowy effect, and I'm going to do that by adding a little bit of orange on the left-hand side. The orange should go maybe a quarter of a way across. And now I want those colours to blend, so I'm just using a little bit more yellow over the top to blend those two colours. Now let's look at the white lines. We're going to create a shadowy effect there by adding light blue. If you don't have light blue in your palette, just use a regular blue with a little bit of white, and that should do the trick. Okay, so again, a quarter of the way across with the light blue. Now I'm going to get some white paint, and I'm using white paint so that I can blend that light blue into the white and make it look like it's painted. Beautiful. Okay, now we're looking at the 3 flowers. Remember, Rachel said that things should be done in 3s. So here are my 3 flowers. This is a rose, and this is a gerbera, two different types of flowers. And because they're different, we paint them differently. The rose, we start with the light pink base, and I've swapped to a bigger brush all around, going a little bit over the guidelines. And I'm going to add a little bit of a darker pink, and I'll leave that to dry for a little while. I'm going to head over to the gerbera now, do the center. Now gerbera's petals are long, so to create that effect you're going to do lots of strokes from the center out to the guidelines. Your painting should go a little bit past your guidelines. We don't really want to see that line, so let's paint over it. Lots and lots of strokes from the center out to the edge. Okay, I'm going a little bit darker there now, and I'm even adding a little bit of purple for a bit more detail. I'll leave that to dry, and I'm going to head up to the top flower, which is another rose, so back to the light pink, and around we go. And I might leave that to dry for a little bit. And I'm going to add some orange to the gerbera. Okay, heading back to the top rose and blending in some darker pink. With the rose, you're going in circular strokes, going around and around. Okay, gradually getting darker, adding more detail, going around and around, little strokes, a little bit of orange and a little bit of purple for a bit more effect, a little bit more detail. You just keep going until you're happy with your painting. If you do something that doesn't look like mine, that's okay. This is your own artwork. And if you make a mistake, take a breath and just keep going, because sometimes mistakes turn into beautiful artworks. Moving on to the leaves now, starting with a light green. We always work from light to dark. And I'm doing all the greenery in that light green to start. And now it's dried a little bit, so I can add a few dark details to it. You can see I'm going around the edge and a little bit in the middle of the leaf. Okay, I'm using orange for those buds. They're not leaves at the top, they're buds. New flower buds that haven't bloomed yet. And orange on one side and pink on the other side. And here's some other little buds. Remember, groups of 3, so 3 little buds. And I had a little section there that was white and I didn't like it, so I've painted it yellow. And colour in the centre of the buds. Okay. The next step is the background. You want to get the darkest blue that you can get. A nice dark navy is the best. Now I've added a little bit of black to my dark blue to get it that really dark blue. I find that the dark background makes it stand out a little bit more. So I'll just paint all that very carefully. And we're all done. Okay, this next step is the other side of your stationery, and I'm drawing the 3 flowers at the top, so 3 circles, just like we did with the flowers previously, and I'm going to start painting those straight away. This is a rose, that's a gerbera, and another rose. So remember, the roses go around and around, round and around, and the gerbera goes out, outward strokes. Okay, light to dark, here we go again, going darker and darker. Adding a little bit of orange and a little bit of purple for more detail. Okay, heading down the bottom, this one's a rose, round and round, going past the guidelines. and adding those purple and orange details. Now for our greenery, just like previously, light green, and then we'll add some dark green for more detail. 3 leaves down the bottom, because we do things in threes, 3 buds, and colour in the centre of the buds. And I'm adding just a little bit of blue for extra detail. And there we are, all finished. Now I'm going to glue the 2 sheets of paper together. Make sure you're sticking the corners down, the sides down. We don't want any bits lifting up. Please make sure your sheets are both up the right way before placing them together. Okay, that's the end of our art lesson today. We hope you love your Mother's Day stationery, and I'm sure your mothers will absolutely love it. See you next time.